My A is 1, so I put in 1 over 1 minus R. What is my R now? It is actually 1 over 1 plus R. So I substitute this in, but this is actually the formula itself. And what do I do here? I try to take a common denominator, which is 1 plus R. So in the numerator here, I got 1 plus R minus 1. So what is left behind here is only R over 1 plus R. And then when I try to multiply this, 1 divided by R over 1 plus R means that it's a flip of it. It's 1 plus R over R. So that is what you have. That is what I tell you. Amos will give you something like this. Why? Because A can be a constant value like 100. R will be, let's say, 0.2. 100 divided by 0.2, you can always work it out, the whole numbers yourself. So high chance is that he will ask you for this. Very high chance. I can tell you about 98% of the chance he will ask you this question. Because this is the only one that you don't require a calculator, but you can do a calculation. And some students say, so what if I know that this is the present value of my yield here? If the present value of your AO of the project is A over R, which we can write it as A dollars times R to the power of minus 1. If you want to know the relationship, what do? We differentiate the present value with respect to R. When you differentiate the present value with respect to R, you are saying that if there's a 1 unit change in the interest rate, what will the change in my present value be? So you're basically finding out the relationship between the two of them. And you realize that when I differentiate this, I will get minus A times R to the power of minus 2, which is minus A dollars over R squared. We can safely say that this value will be strictly less than 0. Why? Because A itself is a positive value, R itself is also a positive value, but the negative sign tells me that this over value will be a negative. Agree? So you're quite safe to say that. So if they tell you that this value is negative, what it says is that when we look at the present value of your yield, it will be negatively related to the interest rate. Hence, if there's an increase in the interest rate, we will expect that the present value of the project yield will be lower. So the given statement was actually false. You can see, the way I approach the question, the way they phrase it is very general. So when you give them an answer, it must come in a very general form. Some students, they basically don't give a general form. They basically form the case scenario. You will still pass the question, but your marks will not be very high. Why? You'll notice someone who showed this equation. We were coming out with assumption, do the derivation, and then show the relationship. It gives a full answer. I have some students who just do present value equals to FV over 1 plus R, then they change the R term. Nothing he can give you. Concept-wise, you're correct, but you have not shown any knowledge on how do you do the derivation. Alright, that's why when you need to do a question like this, you must be very smart. You must know what do they want. Alright, imagine that you do this, and then one student do like this. So this is an example that they approach. This is approach 2. This one, I put here approach 2. I put a bracket, very low marks. Very low marks. You know what my student did? He gave me like that. I don't know how many marks to give him, you know. But understanding-wise, nothing wrong. He tells me that present value equals to future value divided by 1 plus R. He gave me like that. And you know what does he give me? He tells me that, well, if you look at this, assume that my future value is equals to 100. And R initially is equals to 0.2. So he gave me something like this. So you see, look at my present value equals to 100 divided by 1.2, like that. You know? And then he still go in depth to do the max. You know what did he do? He bring in here 1000 divided by 12. So he tell me that this is 500 divided by 6. And he still tell me that this is what? 83. What is that? 48, right? 20, 3, 18, and 2 over 6. So that will be 83 and 1/3. I appreciate that, he did that for me. When you look at what else he did, see, when interest rate increase to 0.5. That's why I cannot fail him, because his thinking is correct. But I cannot give him very high mark. I just give him borderline part. He did 100 over 1.5. So he gave me 100 divided by 1000 divided by 15. So he tell me his answer divided by 5. That will be 200 over, this is 15, right? 3. So he tell me his answer is 66 and 1/3. There you go, smaller. And he claimed that as your interest rate increases, the present value is lower. You see, like that, how many marks you want to give this person? He's not wrong. He get the same result as what we have above. But I can only give him 40 out of 100. Concept wise, correct. Example, correct. But I cannot give him much because no proving. This is pure mathematics. Get it? If you compare to someone who gives me something like this. Assumption, understanding, the working, show it to me general form, and tells me that whatever value we substitute in, I will always see the same relationship. Students who do like that, they get at least a B. Students who do like this, you will get about a D. So this is why economics, some students they discuss, oh, your answer is like that, my answer is like that, come out the exam. Your friend get A, you come out, you get a D. Reason is because of this. You see, different people can kill the cat differently, but some people will make the cat, will torture the cat. This one is that it's just a gunshot, straight away he's dead. That's the difference. That's why I always tell them, when it comes to economics, the way we try to approach the question must be very direct. And no matter how the person twists and turns, as long as my assumption is done properly, you look at it, it's a very general approach. That is what we'll do. Because examiner gives me like that, right? Then he asks me, what if my interest rate go up to 1.8? Would the answer be the same? Okay? But if you give him something like this, he will never question you because this is a general way. Alright? So that is the difference between the marks that the students will get. Okay? Right. So that is what you will see. Look at this part here. So that is the present value. That's based on calculation. He will give you something like this in MCQ. Now, but when it comes to the derivation later on, we will give you a general form of an investment function. If you look at this is the demand for the investment in the economy. This is actually the demand by who? By the firms. Firms will demand the goods for investment purpose. So this right now we are looking at, when we look at the investment function, we are looking at the demand from the firm's viewpoint. And to them, the investment in the economy is negatively related to the interest rate, IO minus I1R. Now, as some of you write this yourself, alright, interest rate over here, highlight, and then write this. This is the cost of borrowing to invest. I don't want you to think about rate of return. Then students disagree already. This interest rate that we're referring to is the cost of borrowing to invest. Very important. Let's state it very, very clearly. That's why when you look at the function, let me just show it to you. When you look at the function, this is IO minus I1R. Investment is negatively related to the interest rate because as the interest rate increase, to me, there's an increase in the cost of borrowing. Therefore, people will borrow less to invest, investment level will fall. Can you see? You go to the bank, you borrow the money, what do you pay? You pay interest. Now interest rate is higher. It's more expensive to borrow, to invest. So you borrow less, your investment level will fall. That is Amos thinking. So we must go with how he thinks. Some of my banking students, they got this wrong. They never understand because they treat interest rate like the rate of return. And then different already. Rate of return higher, the more you invest, right? That's why it's different. This is the cost of borrowing, not your rate of return. Now, student asked me this question. When I look at investment, what is this I0? I0 is your autonomous investment. Now, understanding from the viewpoint of an economy, we will need to always invest in our country. Why? Because our country, the capital goods go through depreciation. And if you recall from last week, there's always a need to invest to catch up with your depreciation. If your investment is less than depreciation, what will happen? Your country will shrink. Remember, your PPF will shift in? Therefore, we must always try to keep up our investment. So without interest or with which is independent of interest, whether interest is high or low, there is a minimum investment that you have to keep up to ensure that your country's capital goods do not go through so much of depreciation. At least you can stabilize the level of your PPF. Alright? And this I1 here, now I need to be very specific with you. What is this I1? Now, some people, C1 marginal propensity to consume. 1 minus C1 marginal propensity to save. My student tell me, marginal propensity to invest. No. No. This is interest rate. This is not your income, you know. This is, what is it? This is the sensitivity of your investment to your interest rate. That means this value here tells you how sensitive is your investment relative to your interest rate. If interest rate, let's say this value, I1, let's say is 20%, 0.2. It means that if my interest rate were to increase by 1%, my investment will fall by 20%. Okay, that is just what it basically means. But here you notice that they will not specifically tell you what is the I1 value, not like your C1. C1 will be always less than 1. I1 here will not have a specific figure. Some people, they will have it as a percentage. Some people will basically have it as a whole number. Why? If I give you an example, you look at Singapore case. People don't really invest a lot. Alright, a lot of people, they are very conservative in Singapore. They don't really invest. So what do? You normally see that this value is very small. Indonesia as well, you look at this value will be very small. Why? People in Indonesia, they also don't really invest. They don't borrow to invest. Alright? Or you look at countries like US, yes, everybody go and borrow from the bank to invest. You look at Japan, this value is very high. Why? People borrow from the bank to invest. This value will be high. That's why there's no specific value for this. It depends on the country. That's why in your viewpoint, they don't tell you what is your I1. They just tell you that this is sensitivity of your investment to interest rate. Full stop. That's it. They don't tell you the value. Is it a fraction or is it a whole number? They don't specify to you. Alright? And the first reason why your investment is negatively related to interest rate, the first one as you see is this. Because interest rate to us is the cost of borrowing, so when your interest rate increases, you notice the investment level will fall. Now the second reason is that if you look at your bond prices, when we talk about bond prices to us is the present value. Why? Because to invest in a bond, you need to decide at this price, should I buy now or not? Which means that that is the present value of your bond yield. So when we talk about bond prices, that is the present value of the yield, which is future value divided by 1 plus r power n. Now, some students say, why is it power n? Because you must understand, bonds can come in various forms. There is short-term bonds, there is mid-term bonds, there is long-term bonds. Some bonds, if you look at it in the real world, you heard people saying, there's 3-month bonds, 6-month bonds. There's also 1-year bonds, there's perpetuity bonds. That's why when you see me putting the n value here, that means that your n is actually the period of the bonds that you will buy, depending on the number of years you buy. Alright, in the past the bonds is longer. Usually the minimum bonds is 1 year. Now US need money. You see they issue 1-month bonds, you know. Alright, they also issue 3-month bonds, 6-month bonds. Singapore, usually you look at them 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5, 25, and then it will be perpetuity bonds. In Singapore, hardly have perpetuity bonds. Usually it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and then 25 years. Alright? So that is normally what you will see in Singapore. Now, of course, in the exam, if the examiners don't tell you anything, they just want you to show the derivation, we always assume the simplest form. IR equals to IO minus I1R. That is what we will use. But sometimes, Amos, you will add in something to catch you by surprise. These are known as your special cases, where they tell you that your investment is also dependent on income. They can tell you that. Alright? And what will they tell you? If they say that if you look at investment, investment will increase when your income increases. Can you see they are positively related? Income higher, you invest more. Positively related, we will put this as plus I2Y. Because the plus here tells you the positive relationship between income and investment. If your income and investment, let's say they tell you that as your income goes higher, you will tend to invest less. And then the economy will go through this particular equation, which is IO minus I1R minus I2Y. Because the minus sign tells you income and investment, they are negatively related. Is that okay? So don't be surprised. You read the question, you ask yourself, are they telling me a positive or negative relationship between my investment and my income? Once you know is it positive or negatively related, then we will write accordingly. Positively related, we write like this. Negatively related, we just change the sign to minus. That's all. These are special cases, which means that if the examiners don't tell you these special cases, don't use them. You use only this one. This is only when it was told to you, then you have to use. And normally when will this happen? This will happen sometime in MCQ question, when you want to make it a bit complicated for you. That is all. Don't get too worried about this. I will show you one sample exam question. You use this. A lot of students very stunned. Alright, because they completely forgot about the special cases. But actually, if you work it out, it's still the same answer. Alright? So that is all that you need to do for your investment. Okay? So now that you know why your investment basically looks like this, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, it's just something that I would like to show you here. Examiners report, examiners guidebook, they like to show you like that. I always tell my students, don't do like that. This is an example of a perpetuity bond. Can you see? They will go on forever, and what do they show? Can you see? They put infinity. They are using the same formula. A minus 1, A bracket 1 minus R to the power n divided by 1 minus R. Can you see? But I don't like students to use this. Why? This one, very, very confusing. The moment they see power infinity, their brain will go spinning. Don't do like that. Do the one that I showed you just now. Using the formula A over 1 minus R will do. Examiner has to accept it because this is a math concept. Don't bring in something like this. But you see the end of the answer will still be the same. Anything? Still the same. So it doesn't matter. But I'm trying to give you something that is easy. Now, your duty here is to go and try out this question. Alright? On your own. And I've given you the answers. So you don't do like that, huh? I have a lot of students, I ask them to do, they say, okay, I do. You know how they do? They take out this page, then they take out this page. Then they read the question, they read the answer. That one not do, that one is called C. Alright, you just read. Now, I told you before, if I already have the answers for you, you read it, the question, then you go and do this part, you just read on. Very, very easy. Because it's like how you see people cook. You see people cook very easy, right? The moment you start peeling the first garlic, you start to cry already. So you must go and try first. Then you can compare your answers with this, given answers, then you see what went wrong. Okay, if you got problems, then you tell me, then I will show it to you. Right. Okay, before we go on to macro 2, maybe you need to clarify certain things. So we take a break here. Alright? 10 minutes break. Can you come back at 5:05? Right?